Om. Om. सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम्
अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे
वन्दे
गुरुपरम्पराम्
नारायणम्
नारायणम्
पद्मनाभम्
वसिष्ठम्
पराशरम् च
व्याससुतम् गौडपादम् महान्तम्
गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमदास्य शिष्यम् श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमदास्य पद्मपादम् सहस्रामलकम् च शिष्यम् तम् तोडकम् वार्तिककारमन्यानस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयम् करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पादम् शङ्करम् लोकशङ्करम् शङ्करम् शङ्कराचार्यम् केशवम् बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतम् करुणामयम् नमामि चिन्मयम् देवम् सद्गुरुम् ब्रह्मविद्वरम्
नमः श्री शङ्करानन्द गुरुपादाम्बुजन्मने
सविलासमहामोह ग्राहग्रासैककर्मणे आत्मानं चेद्विजानीयात् अयमस्मीति पूरुषः किमिच्छन् कस्य कामाय शरीरम् अनुसञ्ज्वरेत् अवान्तरवाक्येन परोक्षज्ञानम् महावाक्यविचारेण अपरोक्षज्ञानम् परोक्षज्ञानसमये at the time obtainment of parokshajnana brahma asti iti guruna uktah vishishyah that Brahman exists in this way being spoken by the teacher. Thereafter the guru directs the mind of the student to do various vivekas, panchakosha viveka, drisya viveka, shariratraya viveka, avastatraya viveka, ityadi. And this direction of the guru is crucial to get prepared for the Mahavakya. If upon attainment of Paroksha Jnanam, if the student expects something to happen without he or she putting forth any effort, it will not. Even as the teacher would give the Mahavakya. Mahavakya preparation is necessary from Paroksha Jnanam to that Mahavakya Vichar. And that is the various forms of Viveka. And that Viveka also need to be done with simultaneous development of Vairagya. Because Shravana Samaye Paroksha Jnana, Brahma Asti iti Jnana. Brahma Asti iti, that alone is not sufficient for one to realize by itself. Unless the mind is so pure, over many, many lives that student has already done, various samskaras he has gained, because of which the purity of mind is there. then the distance between or time difference between Paroksha Jnanam and Aparoksha Jnanam is very small. So that is the reason here an example is going to be given of from the Chandogya Upanishad between Virochana and Indra. Understand, not all Indras are bad. Usually Indra is always said to be a sensuous person. But here Indra happened to be a great seeker. Both of them approached the teacher, Prajapati, and Prajapati had instructed them the same thing only. But then, because of the impurities of the mind, how each one of them proceeded with that knowledge is what is pointed out here in verse number 67. Parokshena vibhutyendrah
पारोक्षेण विबुद्धेन्द्रः
ya atmetyadi lakshanat
यात्मेत्यादिलक्षणात्
aparokshi kartumichan
अपरोक्षीकर्तुमिच्छन्
चातुर्वारं गुरुं ययौ
चतुर्वारं गुरुं ययौ
पारोक्षेण विबुध्येन्द्रः यात्मेत्यादिलक्षणात् अपरोक्षीकर्तुमिच्छन् चतुर्वारं गुरुं ययौ. Vibudhya, having heard and listened to, understanding, parokshena atmanam brahmanam parokshena vibudhya jnatva, having understood the nature of reality as it is. What is paroksha jnanam? Brahma asti iti jnanam paroksha jnanam. Parokshena vibudhya indraha yaha. The Indra who is, at that point, Indra post was held by that particular soul. Atma ityadi lakshanat. So, the statement that is made by, as you see in the next page, on the footnote, Guruji has written, Ya Atma apahata papma vijaro vimrutyuhu vishoko vijigatso पिपासा सत्यकामः सत्यसंकल्पः सो अन्वेष्टव्यः स विज्ञासितव्यः इति. यह आत्मा, that which is the self, apahata papma, devoid of all sins, vicharaha, not subject to old age, vicharaha, vimrutyuhu, devoid of death, vishokaha, devoid of sorrow, vijigatso, vijikitsa apipasaha. So it is not subject to any kind of agitation, including the hunger and thirst, etc. Satyakamaha, of the nature of pure Satyakamaha, meaning Aptakamaha, or Satya Sankalpaha, which is of the nature of great conviction, Sa Anveshtavyaha, to be inquired into, Sa Vijñasitavyaha, and to be realized. When this kind of instruction is given, first what the teacher has said, that with your own eyes, what you see, with yourself, what you see, when you stand in front of a mirror, that is the presence of the self. So the students, obviously, King here, Virochana, as he was again, they were asked to live a life of self-control and then service, contemplate on the self. Virochana hastily concluded the gross body was the immortal self. How did he come to know? Because What you see as yourself, the teacher said, what you see as yourself is the self. He took it to be literally what I see by myself, by the eyes. And what do you see? Gross body. So, Deha Atma iti, the body alone is the Atman iti, Matva, having understood that way, Virochanaha, he went and started to explain to his own clan. Hmm? So Meru is the mountain. Ameruka means the mountain which is opposite to that. Opposite of Meru is Ameru. So he came to America and he taught this knowledge. What? The gross body is the self. So then everybody followed him. So, but whereas Indra, he accepted that first statement, but then he inquired, Apahata Papma, probably yes. But Bijaraha, it cannot be, body is subject to old age and death. How can that not be? That be Atman, because statement is given Vijaraha. It is not subject to Jara, Mrityu. It cannot be. So he went back to his teacher and said, Dehana Atma, Shariramna Atma. He said, you're on the right track, go back. Then he came back and then again contemplated on and saw whether it is the mind or prana. Prana it can be as similar to that of in the Bhriguvalli, we saw that. So there he asked whether prana atma bhavati va nava. Na bhavati, because that is also subject to movement and change. That means that prana is, even though necessary for all the indriyas to act, etc., it gives energy, but that also is subject to disappearance at some point of time because it is inhalation and exhalation. Inhalation, exhalation. It is subject to activity. So, kriyatmakaha prana. Whereas akriyaha atma, it cannot be an activity. Therefore, he went back and said, prana atma na bhavati. You're on the right track. Go back. Then he came to Manaha. And he thought that mind, what is mind? Thoughts, emotions, and all related to desires. So it is not Satya Kamaha. It cannot be. It is not something which is having conquered all the kamas. It's constantly working on desire only. And also, it is that which disappears in the time of sleep. It is not always there. Nitya vastu na manaha. Went back. Said, manaha atma na bhavati. Correct. Go back. Buddhi atma va. Then again he contemplated upon. Then he realized that there can be ignorant people also, enlightened people also. Buddhi by itself is not jnana. Jnana nature is the Atman. So it cannot be jnana. It cannot be. So therefore, he went back and said, Buddhi api na atma. So 4 times he went. That's why it said, Chaturvaram, not 4 weeks. Chaturvaram, 4 times. You have to be understood. Chaturvaram, 4 times. So he went and then finally he understood that it cannot be any one of the things which are said to be my, me, I. That cannot be there. So then, that's when he come to realize that anveshtam krutva atma idi atma ityadi lakshanat aparokshi kartumicham, wanting to realize. So that was lacking in the case of Virochana. Virochana took it for granted that whatever I know presently, it is not something vichara need not be done. So therefore, here seeking the aparoksha jnanam experience, he went back again and again and again. Gurum prati chaturvaram yayau. Then, having said this, that how Indra obtained knowledge by doing his own vichara, guided by this teacher, and finally he got the aparoksha jnanam. Now, in Aitariya Upanishad, Ayam Atma Brahma is what is explained as the Mahavakya there. So here, the reference to that is given from there. Atma va idam ityadau
आत्मनित्यादौ
paroksham brahma lakshitam
परोक्षं ब्रह्मलक्षितम्
adhyaropa apavadabhyam
अध्यात्मरूपापदाभ्याम्
prajnanam brahma darshitam
प्रज्ञानं ब्रह्मदर्शितम्
Atma va idam ityadau paroksham brahma lakshitam adhyaropa apavadabhyam prajnanam brahma darshitam. Aitri Upanishad is Prajnanam Brahma, not Ayam Atma Brahma, this Prajnanam Brahma. So, Prajnanam Brahma iti darshitam adhyaropa apavadabhyam. Adhyaropa is what? Adhyasa, Adhyaropa is deliberate superimposition. Adhyasa is what naturally happens to us as out of our fanciful ideas about the world. What we do is adhyasa. What Upanishad does is adhyaropa. A necessary explanation about the world given in such a way that all our other questions are put aside. Who created the world? Now, how the creation has started, how the creation is sustained, and what is the end of creation. And all that questions are asked to explain that whatever was given by the Upanishad is known as Avantara Vakya, also Adhyaropa Vakya. The Upanishad is not interested in explaining about the Srishti, because that is not going to gain any kind of access to Atmajnana. Atmajnanam Srishti Vivaranat na sambhavati. About knowing about the world and its creation, etc., how can that will help you to realize the self? That's why Ramana Maharshi said that leave the world aside. Just don't worry about it. Let it be whatever it is. Let's get into the inquiry. But Upanishad explains only to make the intellect of the student to quieten down. Otherwise, he will keep asking the same question again and again. So here, Atmava idam. Again, it is quoted here in the next page. Atmava idam eka eva agre asid na anyat kinchana mishat. Atma alone was there. Atmava idam eka agre asid. It is similar to that of Chandogya Upanishad said, Satyam, Sadeva Saumya idam agre asid. So that existence alone was there without any name or a form or character. Here, Atmava idam eka eva agra asid. Agra asid, agre asid. And also makes it clear, na anyat kinchana mishat. Not even a little thing other than that ever. Ishat means little. Na anyat kinchana mishat. Even anything other than that, not even a iota was there. Nothing was there. So by saying that, that alone was there, obviously, that from that alone everything appears to have come. This appear to have come is called adhyaro. So explanation about the entire creation is spoken. That's why he says adhyaropa. What is adhyaropa? Srishti vivaranam is adhyaropa. And By saying Atma va idam eva agre asit na anyat kinchana mishat. By saying that from Atman alone everything has come and sustains and going back, then Atma alone is seen to be all this. If you come to understand that alone is true, everything else is false. That is called apavada. How the creation has started? From Atman alone. Apavada is what? Other than that, there is nothing else. See, if you take the pot, and you call it as a pot, all right, it is good. But is there anything other than the mud is available here? This it came from the mud, it remains as the mud, huh? And when you break it, it'll again go back to the mud only, nothing else. It doesn't become gold. Other than that, is there anything else? Na anyat kinchana mishat. So what is pot then? What is adhyaropa? What is adhyaropa? For the transactional purpose, we call it as a pot. In the same way here, when it is said, paroksham brahmalakshitam, paroksham brahmalakshitam means there was Atman, and or the originated everything is from Atman. Therefore, there is something called Atman asti. Iti paroksha jnana. Second statement, what he said, na kinchana mishat. By saying that nothing else is there, then who are you? Indirectly and directly pointed out that you are that only. Other than that, there is nothing else. Therefore, who will be you? What is everything, and including you? So, adhyaropa avavadabhyam, you means what? Not inert entity. You are not an inert entity, right? Atma was, when the beginning of the creation also, Atma was a conscious being. That conscious being alone is appearing as this world. That is adhyaropa. And the one, that consciousness is alone is present here in you as you. Therefore, who are you? Prajnanam Brahma. Here, Atma Brahma obviously interchangeably used here. So, Prajnanam Brahma Darshitam. The nature of Brahman as consciousness. Inert cannot create the world, obviously. Two chairs cannot create another chair. Can it? Let's keep two chairs and go home. Next day morning, you have three chairs. That won't happen. No, Swamiji, 3D machine can create 6 different Hanumans also. Again, it is inert only. But it can create, right? Yeah, nowadays that is possible also. But so here, Ata Parabrahma Atmana Stiyatam. Sadhana Panchakam also says. And you deliberate upon Mahavakya, and finally Parabrahma Atmana Stiyatam. The Sadhana Panchakam says, and Vivek Chudamani also points out what Vedantartha vicharena jayate jnanamuttamam tenatyantika samsara dukkha bhavatyanu. So, Vedantartha vicharena, by the vichara or by reflecting upon this Vedanta vichara, the Vedanta, jayate uttamam jnanam. The great knowledge arises. Then, tena jnanena, atyantika samsara dukkha nashaha. End of the beginningless, as though end of the beginningless, endless sorrow of samsara. Nashaha bhavati. Anu. Anu means vicharena. All right. Now, having done that, we saw Avantara Vakya is Paroksha Jnanartham. Mahavakya is Aparoksha Jnanartham. What is done as Avantara? Ava usually means low. Ava, anywhere you put the word ava as upasarga, it becomes something inferior. But here it should not be considered as inferior. It should be understood as secondary. An explanation that is given only to prepare the mind of the student for the higher, which is essential. Even in Bhagavad Gita, you will find so many avantara vakyas are there, but they are all meant for preparing the student. So here in the next verse, verse number 69, he speaks about what is the purpose of avantara. Avantarena vakyena
अवान्तरेण वाक्येन
paroksha brahmadir bhavet
परोक्षा ब्रह्मधीर्भवेत्
sarvatraiva mahavakya
सर्वत्रैव महावाक्य
vicharat aparokshadihi
विचारात् अपरोक्षधीः
avantarena vakyena paroksha brahmadir bhavet sarvatraiva mahavakya vicharat aparokshadihi bhavet is understood. Avantarena vakyena. Avantara vakya is, as I said, subsidiary teaching, indirect teaching, paroksha jnanartham. Paroksha jnana praptaye. And it also to be understood as astitva vakya. Brahmanaha astitva vakya. It's about existence of Brahman. Now, when the children, Balviyar children ask, where is the world come from? And all that? From God. Where is God? First of all, they should understand whatever way you teach, finally it's a God is. Only that much they need to understand at that point of time. You cannot say, you know one thing, you are God. I don't think so. the boy said, was asked by the teacher, where is God? He said, in the restroom, in my home. Restroom? Yeah. My father every morning gets up, knocks at the restroom and says, my God, are you still there? So, you cannot say to that child which is not ready, you cannot say that you are that. Tattvamasi, will you tell the child? So, avantara vakyena parokshadihi. Parokshadi, it's feminine because of di is feminine. Parokshadihi, paroksha brahmadihi bhavet. And sarvatra, in all Upanishads, sarvatra here means all Upanishads, mahavakya vicharat, by the reflection on mahavakya alone, aparokshadihi bhavet. Because the vichara, somebody else cannot do for you. It is as Vivek Chodamani says, if you are sick, somebody else takes the medicine. If you are hungry, somebody else eats. Are you hungry? Yeah, very hungry, you may say. Let me eat. You will get angry, right? Not only hungry, you'll become hangry then. Then hunger plus anger. By me eating, how your hunger will go? So, therefore, the teacher by vichar karne, when the teacher is doing vichar, how will the student will become free from bondage? सब आपके लिए कर रहा हूं विचार, नहीं कुछ नहीं हुआ, निष्फलमेव. So the teacher has to make sure that the student is attempting himself. For which, as I said, that the paroksha jnanam is given to him only as a beginning, and then thereafter, see in that the situation also, the man, he saw 10 people there clearly. But then he could have easily said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You see? But he did not realize that his mistake. Next time we'll make the same mistake. So you count it. He then makes him count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, now I realize that there has always been 10. Never anybody is lost. In the same way, the seeker, the student must recognize and realize that the bondage that I have been suffering was false. It is my confusion. Even when I was suffering, I was Brahman only. How can it have been different? Something is not new that has come here. So that realization that it is me, not it's something external to me. So aparokshadihi mahavakya vicharat. Only by the mahavakya vichara it will be possible to start. Now comes mahavakya vichara. How to do the mahavakya vichara? This mahavakya vichara has been very well explained by Shankaracharya in a set of composition verses by him called Vakya Vichar. That Vakya Vichar is a very important text for the Vedanta students because there he explains how to do the Vakya Vichar, Mahavakya Vichar. Now, Vidyaranya Maharaj is quoting this, saying that let me explain to you a part of that Vakya Vichar only to explain the Tattvamasi Vakya. Because Prajnanam Brahma is a statement of fact, Ayamatma Brahma is statement of indication, Tattvamasi is a Upadesha Vakya, and then Aham Brahmasmi is Anubhava Vakya. Even though 4 Mahavakyas is there, real Upadesha takes place in this statement of Tattvamasi. So that is taken as the important thing to deliberate on. So we'll see next few verses are going to be on understanding how to do the Mahavakya Vichara. Brahma Paroksha Siddhyartham
Brahma Paroksha Siddhyartham
Mahavakyamidiritam
Mahavakyamidiritam
Vakyavritto Brahma
Vakyavrittavato Brahma
Brahmavitta is written, right? Vakyavrittavato Brahma
Vakyavrittavato Brahma
Aparokshe Vimatir Nahi
Aparokshe
Brahma Paroksha Siddhyartham Mahavakyamidiritam Vakyavrittavato Brahma Aparokshe Vimatir Nahi. नहीं हिंदी में रहेगा नहीं है na and he should be separated out. Not indeed, he is indeed. Na means not indeed. Brahma aparoksha siddhyartham mahavakyam. Mahavakya is for Brahma aparoksha siddhyartham. Here siddhi to be understood not as obtainment. Even though siddh is to obtain, but it is here not obtainment but recognition. It is not any other siddhi that anybody gets, a power which was not there before and you gain the power. It is an accomplishing some power, not that way. Here it is realizing, recognizing the nature of the reality which is oneself as Brahman. Brahma aparoksha siddhyartham mahavakyam. Itiritam is intended, meant for. this purpose. So what is said, itirita means what is being indicated is, as through Mahavakya, is for Brahma, aparoksha siddhyartham. Vakya vrittau ataha. It is to be understood as Vakya vrittau, in the Vakya vritti composed by Shankaracharya. Vakya vritti grante. Vakya vrittau, in that vritti, vrittau here. In that Vakya vritti, eta ata, thus Brahma aparokshe, in the recognition of Brahman as one's own self, there is no vimatihi, there is no contradiction at all. What is that? What do you mean by contradiction? Now that is what is going to be explained. How can that can be taught? That contradiction, there is nothing here. And also here he says, what I am going to explain is in accordance with what is being spoken or written by Shankaracharya in Vakya Vritti. There is no contradiction at all. He wants to make it, it's called disclaimer. May I make it clear? What I am going to say is what is written in Vakya Vritti. Okay, I'm not going to say anything other than that. So there's no contradiction. And to clarify, because there are two words that are used, that and this, the very fact that two words are used shows that there is no contradiction, really speaking, even though literal meaning may appear to have contradiction. If you only take the direct meaning of each one of them, definitely they are not going to be equal. If I say she is he, how can that be? That's why I don't take Hershey's chocolate. Hershey, which is it her or she? Tell me only one. You cannot say Hershey. How is that her and she? They cannot be same together. That and you. And then why are you saying two things here? So, if you take the direct meaning, definitely there will be contradiction. So, here there is no contradiction, and that is going to be explained. When we said Brahma Asti, as we saw that, Paroksha Jnanam is Brahmanaha Astitvam. Aparoksha Jnanam Brahmanaha Atmiyatvam. Now, by recognizing oneself as Brahma Asmi, is there a contradiction in thinking that Brahma Asti? Asti and Asmi, there is no contradiction, really speaking. One who recognizes Brahma Asmi, what does he say? Brahma Asti. Unlike what the Purvapakshi has been maintaining for some time, Paroksha Jnanam becomes falsified when it comes to Aparoksha Jnana. So, when a person looks at a rope and considers that as a snake, and he thinks that it is snake, definitely upon knowing it as rope, there is a contradiction. But it can never remain as anymore as snake, having realized it as a rope. So there is falsification of the earlier knowledge upon knowing it to be rope. Unlike that, knowing oneself does not falsify astitva of Brahman. So, paroksha jnanam na bhranti jnanam yata sarpajnanavat. Sarpajnanavat, paroksha jnanam na bhranti jnanam. Even though aparoksha jnanam is purna jnanam, complete knowledge without any contradiction, but that does not contradict the statement made by the Upanishad as avantara. Avantara vakya. Number this one. Second is, when tat is introduced as indicating that Paramatma, that Ishvara, who is none other than Samashti Karana Upadi Upahita Chaitanya. Right? What is Ishvara? Who is Ishvara? He is that consciousness associated with the total causal bodies. And Tom is Vyashti Karana Sharira Karana Upadi Upahita Chaitanya. Associated with, here to be understood as Jiva, as the consciousness associated with the Karana Sharira. And of course, including that will be Sthula and Sukshma Sharira also. There it is introduced as Hiranyagarbha, etc. and Virat. Here it is Prajna, Tejasa and Vishwa. So, when you only take the direct meaning, it has a definite contradiction. Ishvara cannot be Jiva. Sarva Upadi Ishvara cannot be equal to Alpa Upadi Jiva. Samashti Sharira Abhimani Ishvara Virat cannot be Vyashti Sharira Abhimani Vishwa. There is apparent contradiction, but then we must recognize this contradiction is also overcome. When one understands Atma Eva Brahma, he will have no problem in understanding Jiva Eva Ishvara. Ishvara is from the standpoint of the manyness. When I come to see the world with varieties of names and forms, for which Ishvara is the cause, upon the superimposed world when I see, there is Ishvara. When the superimposition is understood to be false and when we apavada when we do, Ishvara merges with Jiva only. Ishadarshanam Atmarupataha. We'll see that slowly here as we proceed to the next verse. Now, Guruji writes in this book few things. Now, first one is, as you see in the page number 103, he says, to understand the meaning of the words, the four aspects has to be understood clearly. They are important. One is called Akanksha. Akanksha means Akanksha. Kanksha means to seek, to ask, to question, to inquire. Samanta. So, inquiry is known as Akanksha. And I think Hindi में कुछ और meaning है ना? Expectation. Hope also. Right? In Kannada or Telugu. Shubha, what called? Navavarsha Akanksha. Right? Don't say? Don't you say that? They keep the name also Akanksha. Right? What is your name? Miss Enquiry. You keep inquiring all the time. See, this girl, I know I told you this to joke also. This girl is so curious, young girl, small little one. Always question. The mother was so fed up of this. And she said, once there was a cat like you, the cat was very, very, inquisitive. Went on asking question. One day it found a dark opening in a wall. It was so curious cat, so it wanted to go there and went inside. And then it was all completely dark and the opening closed and it died. Then what happened? The child is not ready to even accept that. Then what happened? It's further curious. So, the question of inquiry comes, as Swamiji writes here, because of incompleteness in the statements. He is going. What is your next question?
Going where?
Going where? First of all, who is going? Because I need to know who is going. He is going and who is going. So as he says here, if someone says he goes, it leads to a question, who is he? Where is he going? How is he going? Why is he going? Right? So upon knowing those things only, it becomes complete. So we have to ask the right question. So that is, so he sleeps. Who is sleeping? So as he says, to the words he sleeps, the question of what will only indicate that the listener is not clear. So he sleeps and what sleeps? So there's no answer to that question. So when we are asking question also based upon how we understand the statement. If you don't understand the statement correctly, the question also will become irrelevant. He sleeps. Oh, no. Who sleeps is a question. What sleeps? Why sleeps? What? How sleeps? And what do you mean? Those questions have no meaning at all. So your doubt also. That is why I always tell people there is a difference between doubt and question. Yeah. Arjun asked questions. He did not doubt Krishna. See, doubt is usually happens when I do not have a trust on that person. Even though we interchangeably use these two words, I have a question. Oh, you're doubting me? No, I'm not doubting you, but I have a question because I don't understand. So Arjun always makes it clear. I don't understand. That's all. I don't doubt what you're saying, but I don't understand. You may be right. Jayasi chet karmanasya mata buddhir janardana tat kim karmani gore mam niyojayasi. What you said was right, probable. But I don't understand how it is fitting to me. Because Bhagavan says, Samshayatma vinashyati. If you have a doubt, you will perish. Meaning, if you don't trust the teacher or the scriptures, you will perish. You can question it how it can be applied to my life. Which means what? I take it for granted what is said is possible. I do not know how. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramadi balavadrana. Tasyaham nigraham manye vayu. My mind is so fickle. Therefore, how do I control? How do I control? I am not saying it is not possible. It may be possible, but for me it is not possible. So this is one. Second is yogyata, adhikaritvam. Whether you have the qualification to go ahead with this question or with this inquiry. So the sentence put milk in the pot is fine. But the sentence put the elephant in the pot it's not helpful. So what it means is that whether the statement that is being stated is according to the relevance of that context. That is what is to yogyata. Sannidhi means proximity. By changing the placing of the words or splitting them differently, the meaning of the sentence would change. God is nowhere. As Guru Swamiji points out, God is nowhere is a statement. But if you split it in correctly, God is now here.
God is now here.
Another one is in this comes in the sadhana pattern, no? Swadvannam nati yachadam vidivashat praptena santushyata. Vidivashat praptena santushyata. What comes to you by vidhi, by chance, eat that and be happy. You can split it differently also. Vidivashat prapte na santushyata. When the food came to you, never be content. Prapte na santushyatam, prapte na santushyatam. Both are possible. So you have to understand correctly how to split the statement. Tatparya means intended meaning. Tat para. That's what tatparya. What is said to be correct. What is the real meaning? the implied meaning of sentence could be quite different from the literal meaning. Like a lion could mean, he is like a lion could mean, he is brave and courageous or ferocious. A taunt has intended negative meaning even when the words spoken may be pleasant. So it is he is brave and courageous, and not he's like a lion means he eats all the other people. Not like that. It never be understood as a violence. Similarly, it's to taunt a person, or what do you call that?
Bullying a person.
Not bullying. Sarcasm. They can say to a sick person, he's an epitome of good health. So that is really, even the statement is made, literal meaning is that, but what indicated meaning is never healthy. So the opposite is what is indicated here. So our exact meaning, tatparya, is, oh, this is where we have to put the board. Now comes my reflection on Mahavakya. So we'll start that and we'll proceed on that. आलम्बनतया भाति योऽस्मत्प्रत्ययशब्दयोः
अंतःकरणसंभिन्न
बोधस्सत्त्वं पदाभिधः आलम्बनतया भाति योऽस्मत्प्रत्ययशब्दयोः अंतःकरणसंभिन्न बोधस्सत्त्वं पदाभिधः त्वं पदाभिधः त्वं पद abhidah. Abhidha means what is being termed as. What is the direct meaning? Now, when we make any statement as a communicating to another person, what we intend is what that person should understand. That is the idea. Right? Fire is hot when it is said, what is the feeling that I have about fire is what I expect you to know. Right? So a word is uttered and accordingly a meaning is conveyed and accordingly a thought is formed in your mind. Shabda, Vishaya and Pratyaya. Shabda means a statement or a sound, so to say a word. Pada is used the word pada. So here you see Pratyaya Shabdayoho, the last part of the first statement. So when I say, I see a snake, that snake is only a word that I used comprising few letters. S-N-A-K-E, Sarpaha. When I make a word Sarpaha, what it means is, I mean snake in Sanskrit. I see a snake when I say, in your mind, a vritti takes place of the snake. That vritti which is relevant to that of the sound is called pratyaya. Pratyaya is a thought. That's a technical word used here. Vritti, it's a pratyaya. A comprehension in your mind, a thought in your mind. So Shabda, Artha, Pratyaya. These three are supposed to be the same. What I say is what I mean is what you think. What I say is what is to be the meaning, and the meaning should create a relevant thought in your mind. All right. Why it is important? It's called word, Shabda. Object, Artha. Pratyaya, thought. Now, when we say that, as I said, this is a part. So, part is the Shabda that I produced, and I mean this particular object as the part, that is the object of my word. And even if you are not seeing the part in front of you, in your mind, a part thought only should come. What else should not come?
Snake.
Cloth, snake, something else, akasha. So all other thoughts should not appear when I make a statement. So when I say a part, that part vritti alone should take place and not anything else. Right? So now this is important for us to proceed further when we try to understand the word aham. Asmat pratyaya. Now what is aham? When I say aham, or when you say aham, what actually you mean by that? Yaha asmat pratyaya shabdayoho asmat pratyaya aham shabdaha. Asmat here should be understood as aham, the word I. And what, whenever you say aham, when you say aham, what thought comes to your mind? Part, and I say part vritti comes. Thought of part. Snake, snake comes. Akasha, you can this. That thought of pratyaya comes. Aham. What vritti is there?
I thought.
You thought, but what you thought? I want to know.
Consciousness in the mind.
You see, aham in the common man. Let us take a common man, not a person who's studying Vedanta. I. Or when he refers to as I am going. What he refers to? So it depends on the context where he is referring to that word I. I am walking. So what is he referring to? That aham, asmat pratyaya, has taken the form of a gross body. Right? When he says aham janami, aham chalami, aham gacchami, I am going, I am walking. He is referring to sthula sharir. I am angry. Is he referring to sthula sharir? Is any part of the body is involved here? Any part of the body is referring to that as I am angry. So that the same I has moved from sthula to sukshma. I don't know. So he is not referring to body, definitely not. I am breathing when he says referring to prana. I am hungry is again prana. I am angry is moved to mind. I don't know, he moved to buddhi. So this asmat pratyaya is very important to understand because than any other, this is very, very crucial. That is what is referred as Tom. So when you say Tom, what is the student thinking about? Is he referring to the physical body? Then he is the most gross in his thinking. So here it is important to understand when The Mahavakya talks about Tat Tvam Asi, that Tvam is Aham. When the teacher says Tvam, the student should understand as what? Aham. He should not say Tvam. Maybe you may be Brahman. I don't know. I may probably possible. When teacher says Tat Tvam Asi, oh Tvam. Not Tvam, Aham. So Tat Tvam Asi. Aham Asmi. This is what the student should understand. Even though the word uttered is Tvam, it refers to Aham. Right? That thou art. So that I am. That should be the understanding. Now, Shabda, Artha, Pratyaya. These three, what is this common support of all the three? Alambana. What is the alambana of this? Alambana what? Of what? Asma pratyayasya. Attas pratyaya alambana. What is the supporting factor of this asmat pratyaya? To be continued. Dot, dot, dot. No, dot, dot, dot. To be continued. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kasyat Dukkham Bhavet. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Hari Om.